What do you say, guys? And welcome to the show. This is one of those pop up shows right now, breaking news happening as we speak. And the news is that Matt Mervis is being called up, and that means that someone is going somewhere else. And I'm guessing that the most likely move is that Ian Happ will be on the IL after missing the weekend. All right, let's talk about that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. We're going to talk about Matt Mervis, what he brings to the table. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. It's a great way of saying go Cubs, and let's get this thing going. All right, what do you say, everybody? Mick Gillespie here, hanging out with you and breaking some news. Actually, Tommy Birch, who we had on the show, it was like last week or 2 weeks ago, from the Des Moines Register, reporting that Matt Mervis is going to the Chicago Cubs. So Mervis going to the Cubs, I guess that's not really that surprising when you think about if you needed a left-handed bat, that he would be the guy, right? Kind of got passed for that first base job because of the Cubs signing Michael Busch. But, you know, I saw him in spring training, and those guys really were getting along great, both working, both hitting the ball well. And then Mervis went down to Iowa, and he did great. I mean, look, 5 home runs, 13 batted in, a 288 average, you know, and he's put up monster numbers just like Busch in the minor leagues. I mean, you know, like last year, struggled with the Cubs. You know that. He hit 167, had 3 home runs and 11 RBIs in 27 games. And some of us felt like maybe part of that was the environment that the Cubs played in with Rossi as manager. And now you're looking at a new manager that seems to have a way with the young players. So this is a great litmus test right now to see what Mervis is going to do in the future. And I've heard experts, baseball experts, guys like Keith Law, who don't think Mervis is going to hit. I think he's going to hit. I disagree. I've seen the guy turn on fastballs. The guy's hit a ton of home runs in the minor leagues. And it's just a matter of him figuring out how to do that at the major league level. I mean, you're talking about 4 seasons in the minor leagues. He's hit 72 home runs. And he's got over 250 runs batted in and a 278 batting average. And I know a lot of you guys like on base percentage for him, 372. And even last year, after he was sent down to the Iowa Cubs, ended up having another good season. Hit a total of 22 homers, 23 doubles, and 78 runs batted in. And then, you know, it was 2022 that he made that rocket ascent to the top of the Cubs prospect list in a really stacked system. But he played for 3 different teams in the minor leagues in 2022, including Iowa and Tennessee, which are the 2 higher ones, double and triple A, or triple and double A, really, on the way I said it. But 36 homers, 119 runs batted in, and had a 379 on base percentage. So Mervis is getting the call. Now, that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is, who is the corresponding move? Now, I haven't seen that yet, but I'm guessing that it's going to be Ian Happ. I mean, he hasn't played, this weekend. He's another one of these Cubs that somehow has a muscle, a strain, pull, tight muscle injury. We saw it with Wisdom. We saw it with Tyone. He's got one. Magical's been dealing with it. So I don't know why there's this rash of muscle injuries with the Cubs, but it definitely is going to hurt to have Ian Happ out of the lineup. Alexander Canario has done a nice job of filling in. But Wrigley Field this time of year can be really tricky. We saw that over the weekend with Canario out there. Happ had it mastered. Obviously, he's a Gold Glover, and he's one of the best. So, guys, that's what we're seeing now. Some of you are saying, okay, what does this mean as far as? And I'm speculating on Happ, okay, but it has to be right. I mean, the tea leaves tell us this. Mr. Cub says, could Busch be in the outfield? I don't know. I don't know. We know Bush plays different positions, but are you really going to move a guy who's been so productive? Bush has put himself. People that don't even know Cubs baseball are asking about Bush because he's that rookie right now, hitting all the home runs. The streak of home runs and doing good. I could see Mervis being a DH, but I don't know that they're going to move Bush off of first base. Maybe send Cooper down. Well, but the thing about it is that what are we seeing? We're seeing that Happ. What did Craig Counsell tell us? He told us that Happ had a tight hamstring. I don't know if he's available to us. They're only going to wait a few days, and then they're going to say, you know what? You go into these games, and what Craig Counsell's great at is looking ahead and saying, what am I going to need to beat this team? And if he thinks that he needs a left-handed bat that he can count on, then that's a move that he obviously would make to try to, put the Cubs in position to win. So more on Mervis. Was drafted in June of 2016 by the Nationals, but he decided not to take that, went back to school. And then it was COVID that he didn't get drafted. And then the Cubs signed him, which turned out to be like where he was a free agent because they only did the 5 rounds and he picked the Cubs. And then, he was a star player at Duke and really like a guy that has done everything except hit at the major league level consistently. So we're kind of looking at it like this was the guy last year that we thought would step up and take first base. And then the Cubs went and signed Mancini and what was the other guy's name? Hosmer, right? And so then there wasn't a spot at first base. And then eventually those guys got released. And then Matt Mervis came in and it was like, I don't know, it just never really felt right. And now you get this opportunity to have him play first base maybe a little bit, and maybe not even play first base, maybe just come in and DH, fit in, and do well. And we'll see if he can pick up some momentum. But I just don't think that they're going to move Bush to third base, guys. I think that they're sticking with what they got right now. They've got Matt Shaw working exclusively in Double-A on third base. He's a better defender than Morel. But yeah, MASH is back, right? Maybe we'll get the MASH shirts going on. So yeah, it's one of those moves where you have this minor league system that is loaded, right? Iowa and Tennessee. They're in all of the publications of all the minor league teams. They're both listed in the top 10 for talent. Now it's up to Mervis to take advantage of this opportunity, get to Chicago, and make a difference. And then the other thing is, look at that. Bernie says, got the MASH Mervis tee. I like that. And then the other thing is, and I'm going to bring Anthony on here in a second, is for the Cubs is getting these guys to come to Chicago and perform. And honestly, Craig Counsell has delivered that so far. So that's one of the biggest things for him. I'm going to bring Anthony on. And again, just the breaking news, obviously, is that MASH Mervis is coming back to the big leagues. Hopefully he'll MASH. But the other thing is, what's the corresponding move? And it feels a lot like it's going to be Ian Happ to the IL.
Yeah, and I was just looking at Tommy Birch's Twitter, who is somebody we've had on our show, a friend of the show, and also somebody who's very connected down in Iowa. And he said Hayden Wesneski is coming with Mervis back to the big leagues.
Nice.
Too.
Okay.
So we got 2 moves. The thing that makes the most sense in my head, you mentioned Ian Happ for the offensive move, and then I would guess Kyle Hendricks for the pitching move.
Really?
That's what I think makes the most sense right now. Because you can't afford to not have Ben Brown in the big leagues or not have, any of these other guys who have pitched valuable innings for you in that bullpen. Unless it's Brewer, I feel like Hendricks makes the most sense.
Yeah, well, I agree. And I want to say this. I wouldn't say this about a lot of moves if that's what happens, because it could happen. I'm not cheering in any way for Hendricks to have a demise in his career.
Neither
and I love him. I love him. He's a great person. He's been a great ambassador for the game. and he's been one of the Cubs' great pitchers in the history of the franchise. But you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're unable to do your job in this business, someone else is going to come and step in. I mean, that's just been the way. Somebody replaced Babe Ruth. I mean, think about that. Somebody replaced Ryne Sandberg. Somebody replaced all of us. They're going to replace all of us. We're all replaceable. And, I didn't see, man, I saw a little improvement in Hendricks' last start. What was that, Sunday? But it felt like, it just felt like he just doesn't have it anymore. And if he gave up 4 runs and he left in a bad situation, and then if he rolls through another inning, I mean, they probably would have scored another 8 runs. I mean, he's just not getting out. So, hey, Mr. Amazing is watching from study hall. That's a way to do it, man. See, They didn't have that technology when I was in school.
I love it.
I would be doing the same exact thing. Keep the volume down, or get some Bluetooths in there. But yeah, man, it's sad. It really is sad about Hendricks, and it's obvious that something's not right. And hopefully, it's something where it's physical. You know what I mean? Where you can go get it fixed and come back. But that may, Wisniewski earned that opportunity too, the way that he came out and pitched last time. But he's got to wait 10 days, right? So I guess he could be there, but he's still, the way I understand is he's got to wait 10 days.
So I also understood that as well. But when I keep looking up the rule, I can't see if there's anything like any gray area with like an IL. Like, it's one thing if you're just bringing him up and sending somebody else down. But if you're clearing room with an injury, I'm not sure if the rule is any different. But yeah, I thought Hayden pitched more than good enough to be brought back up to the big leagues. And, Matt Mervis is another guy who's been hitting like he wants to get back into the big league. So it's 2 guys that make a lot of sense to bring up. I think offensively, Bush and Mervis, they're both lefties, so you can't really platoon the 2 of them. But my guess would be Mervis platoons DH and Cooper is DH against lefties would be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still 3 first basemen. And then you also mix in Patrick Wisdom, who can play over there. So you kind of have a logjam at that position. And if it is Morel who is hurt, which is another speculation because of his struggles, maybe he's been battling through something. I don't want to see Nick Madrigal and Wisdom in the lineup every day.
Yeah, right. Well, I just thought he was just struggling. And good news, Mr. Amazing says he's got iPods in. So
perfect.
If you're going to cheat in class with us, we just want to make sure that you do it and not get caught. That's what we're all about here. Well, and I'm curious, but I mean, it just makes sense for Ian Happ because this has been a lingering issue for him.
Yeah.
You're talking about in spring training. And then, we didn't even know if he was going to play on the team to start the season. And then he came back and then he got off to a great start leading off. And that he probably tweaked it again, slowed down with the bat, still found a way to help the team. And then those things get to the point where if you don't rest them, they don't get better. But, to me, and I'm not a medical expert, but I've been around sports for a long time. Someone's going to be held accountable for all of these muscle injuries that the Cubs are having, because there are ways, and it may just be bad luck, but there are ways to prevent some of this stuff, whether it's stretching, whether it's running, whether it's, drinking fluids or, taking some kind of, supplements
or doing
and stuff
less.
like that. Or doing less. Right.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, but somebody oversees that,
right.
And there is an obvious issue going on right here with all of these muscle injuries that the Cubs are dealing with. I mean, it's not just one. I mean, it's like every time you turn around, somebody's got one.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Happ, and it was one of those things Craig Counsell said during spring training. Yeah, it doesn't look like Ian's going to be ready to start the season. And he did. So I was like, oh, it must have not been as bad, but maybe Ian just rushed through it. And that's why we have to go through this again, not even a month into the season. I believe Seiya, his oblique was a different oblique from last year. Happ, I think this is the same hamstring that he dealt with in spring training. So it's one of those things that you want to make sure you figure out before you throw him back out there and get it even worse. This might be a strain. You don't want to tear. You don't want, grade 1, grade 2, further down the scale. So The other good thing about this move is because he's been out since Friday, you can retroactive the move to Friday.
Right.
So if it's 10-day IL and it starts on Friday, today's Tuesday, he could technically come back, I think, next Sunday or Monday, instead of 10 days from now. But then again, you want to make sure he's healthy. And similar to Seiya and Justin Steele, take the time because we want these guys in August. We don't want them hurt in August. So get right now.
Some of you guys are asking about other options, like PCA and, maybe, Jordan's saying PCA couldn't hit. PCA is going to be a good hitter one day, but he struggled. Owen Casey's probably not ready yet. He will be.
Shaw as well.
Matt Shaw has a ways to go, but he'll be there. And I've talked about this a lot. And some of you are going to be in the comment section arguing with me, but this is when you need it, Nelson Velasquez. And this is why I have talked about that trade over and over again. I want that 300 batting average that he's got right now in Kansas City. I want that power with, the 2 home runs and 10 runs batted in or whatever, because he's an everyday player you could put in right field for Suzuki, and he's better than, some of the other options that you have. Plus, he's ready right now. That's the risk that you take, too, when you go all in. And that's probably one of the reasons why the Cubs fired David Ross, because somebody had to be accountable for you giving away great talent like that and not getting there, and falling apart at the end. And, I've said it and I'll say it again. I get it. I'm not putting this on Jed where I'm like, hey, you know what? The guys wanted to win. Dansby Swanson was begging those guys to make deals to get them there. And he was one of the guys that didn't hit, quite honest, at the end of the season and came up short. So it's on the players too. You go in and you say, hey, I'm going to do this and we're going to do this. You don't get a game short. You bring it in, right? And they didn't bring it in. So that's the price that we're paying today. The good news is that there are some options that will be there sometime soon. It could be halfway through the season, like with an Owen Casey, but it would have been nice to have him available now. Pete Crow Armstrong probably went up a little bit too fast last year, and the league's caught up to him a little bit. He's going to get it figured out. He'll be fine. Owen Casey's a machine. I think he's going to spend years in the big leagues as a great player. But I feel like this is your next best option. I mean, you're talking about a guy in Matt Mervis who has been really good and consistent at the plate, can hit for power, and you want those runs knocked in. He's had the failure. He had the exact same batting average as Michael Busch last year, that 167. So like my batting average when I was playing. No, I'm just kidding. And, and so now he comes up. Let's see what Craig Counsell can do with him. Let's see if we can get this figured out, because there's been a ton of injuries on this team. They're still on pace to win 95 games. They still got a winning record. Craig Counsell has found a way to work with this roster and win games without having Seiya Suzuki, without having Justin Steele. There's your 2 best players right there, right? So this move to me is interesting just because I think that it's Mervs' time to show that he can play.
Yeah, and I also think it's a move that comes out of a little bit of urgency because of some of the struggles that the Cubs have had and some of the bad at-bats that we've seen from some of the other guys that, we want to get another guy in there because we can't afford to keep giving games away in April because they count just the same when you're looking and adding them all up at the end of September. But I want to go back to Velasquez just for a second. I don't think trading him was the issue. I think not getting more for him back was the issue because there still isn't a ton of avenues for him to play. You've got Happ, Bellinger, and Suzuki out there in the outfield, and then Canario, PCA, Casey, and Alcantara coming up to play those spots too. I'm upset that they only got Kwas and not a better reliever or more back. I think that's what's more frustrating. But yeah, when you look to Mervis, he's a guy that has shown that he's earned another opportunity back at the big leagues. And personally, I'm hoping, rooting for him as a person, that he makes it stick this time around.
Yeah. And Dan's on there. And then look, there's people that don't think that Velasquez is legitimate, and that's your opinion. Mine, having seen him play, 100 games, I don't think he's a 240 hitter. You know, and I mean, he's going to strike out a lot, but hell, all these guys strike out a lot. That's just the way that the game is these days. I'm to the point with Nick Madrigal, when there's men on base, I'd rather him strike out than roll into his double play. I'm so sick of him hitting into double plays, man. It's you guys in the comment section mentioned that. Now every time he's up, I'm like, and if he doesn't, it's close. Like, it's always like,
yeah, he beats out a fielder's choice.
Yeah, he's hauling ass up the first base line. So, well, look, that's all we wanted to do, guys. We just wanted to jump on and give you that breaking news. You know, maybe we'll pop back on when we know what's going on the other end of it, the moves that are accompanying it. Look, if it ends up being like you think, Anthony, that it's Kyle Hendricks doing something, especially if he was released, or, you know, I don't know, but we'll keep an eye on that too. I mean, as much as he struggled this year, he's given us a lot of great baseball over the seasons, and there's going to be some tears shed when if this is the, you know, the beginning of the end, or maybe this is the end for Kyle Hendricks. But if I was the Cubs, you know, I'd find an injury and go work on it, you know, and maybe just take him back to Arizona, or, you know, send him on some rehabs to figure out what he's not doing. And maybe he gets it figured out.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think there's 4, based on everything I'm reading and then just my knowledge of the roster, I think there's 4 guys that could be going down in replacement for Matt Mervis and Hayden Wesneski. And I think the 2 on the offensive side of things have to be injuries. And my guess is Ian Happ or Christopher Morel, because of his struggles. I've seen a lot of people guessing that maybe he's dealing with something. And then on the pitching side, I think the possibility of Hendricks is there. And then I think Colton Brewer would make the most sense also to get sent back down. Yeah.
Did you watch and this is the last thing before we pop off, did you watch the TV broadcast and Boog started talking about Hayden Wesneski getting sent down to Carter Hawkins?
No,
it got a little contentious there for a second, it felt like, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you guys heard on the show yesterday, me and my brother were at the game Saturday, and when Jed Hoyer was walking out of the stadium, my brother was like, Jed, we need bullpen. And he just laughed at us.
Yeah, he was probably just laughing that you guys were out there. He saw double since you guys are twins. Hey, awesome to talk to all you guys. 200 of you right now are watching live. Please give us 200 thumbs up. Thank you for being on the channel.
Yep.
Check out what we got going on right now. Interviews with Cade Horton and Matt Shaw. Anthony previewed the Rhino Sandberg, Rhino. I don't know why I'm so tongue twist. The Rhino statue tribute, which I'm thinking about coming up there for that, since since I'm buddies with Rhino, and I just I got to see what my schedule is, but maybe doing something live from that. Such a big occasion, and he means so much to me in my career. So, but I know you guys love him too, and thank you guys, and we'll talk to you again soon. Go Cubs.
Go Cubs.